everyone, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney to Resolve. Well, last time we began the final case of the game, and today we are on board the SS Grouse playing as Miko, joined by Airlock Sholmes on our quest to find the final clues that Ryunosuke and Susato need, because they are currently back in the courtroom fighting for their lives and waiting on the edge of their seats for the last piece of evidence they need to seal their case and seal the deal, and they're depending on us to get it for them. So without further ado, let's get into that cabin and find the last piece of evidence we need to end this case once and for all, hopefully, maybe, I don't know. So we have to distract this guy over here whose name is Chicken Stroganoff, apparently. So the only thing I can think, outside of throwing the mousetrap at him, which is a bit cruel, is to ring the bell to distract him. This would appear to be an alarm bell. I'll help with break loose if that thing were to ring. Set it off. Set it off. I don't have any options, so set it off. Here goes then. Pardon me in advance. You! What are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be a very bad problem.
What's going on down there? Seaman strong enough aboard at once.
Hey! Alright, problem solved. Sholmes, go, go. Sholmes. Oh, I don't care. Go. Sholmes, get in. Yes, Sholmes, go, Sholmes. Done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, don't stand there gulping in my billions, Mikotaba. In we go! Oh, yes! And Chicken Stroganoff was never the wiser. Okay, November 3rd, SS Grouse First Class Cabin number 2. What the hell happened here? Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. Those clothes on the floor there, they're Sashira's without question. Well, it would seem we are just a little too late. Yes, by about 2 hours. Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here. But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes. Indeed he may. Which makes all this all the more thrilling. Okay, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, so, first things first, what the hell is this? There's a speaking tube here. Look, though it's been stoppered with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose. Well, indeed, so the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere. Could something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, you think? Either that, or it could be to prevent snakes from entering. That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? I mean, I thought that he forgot all that happened, but it's whatever. Anyway, okay. So there's this. There's a plate with a glass on it. Quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it... Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off. Ice, Mikotaba. Ice! What opulence the first-class passengers enjoy. Chilled drinks. Pardon? Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think? Well, it is a luxury liner, after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish product produced as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world. Suddenly, Mikotaba. The sight of you is making my mouth water. I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. Okay, so that's interesting. There's... Nakati, Ryunosuke, you in there? According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asogi's wardrobe. Indeed he was, and it was of similar size to this one. Ah, you must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow. What? Whatever for? It was the sight of my first fateful meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You can experience the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now, and you go. There's no take a moment. It really shows you, surely you can just tell me what you said. Also, we don't have time for this. Well, I uttered some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer. I think I'll just read it out in the emergence of Airlock Sholmes. Again, we don't really have time for this, but okay. I guess the main attraction is what exactly is... Well, aside from the, that's interesting. Okay, so we're gonna check that in a second here, because clearly this was relocated from here to conceal something behind here. But first, I'm gonna check what's inside here. That's a very sizable chunk indeed. Sashiro is partial to all things large. Okay. And a rather clumsy fellow if he failed to notice he'd left that behind. Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape. Pity, it's locked. So I thought you couldn't open any lock. Surely 5 seconds from now, the situation will be quite different, though. Sadly not. It is a 7-digit combination lock. Oh, but I thought you could open any lock. Oh, no. And I'm not in a most enough mood to work through all the combinations at present. Okay, then. Well, that was worth a shot, I suppose. Last time we were in a situation like this on a boat, there was something hidden in the trash can. Is there anything hidden in this trash can? This is the waste paper basket. Look, and there's still rubbish inside. Indeed. Let us pry. I've discovered recently that I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets. I sincerely hope only for your work. Ah. Here we have a notice issued to passengers some 3 days ago. 3 days ago, the night before we arrived in London then. But I was still aboard myself. Evacuation drill notice October 31st. Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are... I didn't get to... Thanks. I wanted to read that. Oh. Oh! And I can't open the court record because I'm playing as dumbass Mikotaba. Thanks, game. Ah, yes, there was an evacuation drill, I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. Okay, can I read it? Can I open the court record and read it? No, I can't. Alright, thanks, Mikotaba, you useless sack of shit. Great, I'll have to read it when we... I'll have to read it as Ryunosuke when we get back to the courtroom. Great. Great, great, thanks. Thanks a lot. Okay. Well, on that note, let's keep on moving along. So, we checked the trash can. I think it's also worth checking this, since it's blatantly obvious that something was moved here. These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in orders under travel cases. I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination. What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Does that strike you? You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though. A trifle. And you know what I always say, Mikotaba? There is nothing important about trifles. Probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. Okay. And then, of course, there's also the question... Obviously, there's this, but it's also the question of the bookshelf. Plenty of reading material to keep passengers occupied on the long sea voyages. I found the mixture of classic literature and easy reading to be most satisfactory, I must say. Huh. I'll stock this book. It was a hopeless heretic. Okay. There's no copy of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, my dear fellows. I'm afraid it's just me, but no, you're quite right. More blasphemous than overlooking the Bible. I shall leave a copy behind. I just happen to have one with me. You're a true missionary of the Church of Great Detectives, aren't you? Alright then. Great, well, that was fun. Now let's check this. The wall is a slightly different color just here. Do you see? I noticed a few more than just the slight different color, but alright. Indeed, what you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure. Mikotaba, you aren't in a position to judge anybody for anything. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape inside. Yeah, I wonder where we spotted it, Mikotaba. Oh, hey, buddy!
You are still here?
Ah, able seaman Stroganoff. Hello again.
I was beginning to think you'd never materialize. Yeah, you are waiting for me? Of course. I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of a trick you played before.
Poor innocent chicken.
It is all your fault.
Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now. What, are you scared of us? Would you call yourself chicken? Funny.
Of course we shall disembark pleasantly, my dear fellow, but first, there is something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally. The debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth. Huh? I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Chikoku has not yet left this vessel at all. And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you? How can you? Good gracious, Sholmes. You mean you've worked it out? All of it? I severely doubt that. It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning? Nothing would please me more.
Oh, don't tell me I have to do a dance of deduction with Mikotaba. Oh, don't tell me I have to do that.
We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Time is of the essence.
Is this when Shones really shines? When he has no time to mess around?
Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jikoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. Yeah, that is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it.
Yeah, because the ice would have melted by now if that were the case.
Ah, yes, of course. I see you noted it too, Mikotaba. Then please, do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jikoku having disembarked 2 hours ago?
Yeah, I know, I got it. Okay. Didn't... I really have to play... Oh, you gave him voice lines too. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, he doesn't deserve any of this. What the hell is what the... Okay. People were paid to animate that.
Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass. How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. Ah. It would appear that the man who was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival, with this well-chilled glass in hand.
Did you mind off the refreshment, Shomes?
One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganov? But why would Sashiro run from us? Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Klaus are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jikoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan?
That's right, they are.
I was in the cabin next door and Sashiro was... Yes. 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage, as I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jikoku had to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. Ah, this is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganov? Shomes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity.
Yeah, because there's something, the moving of the rules of passage is clearly trying to hide something.
Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice.
Something out of place in here?
That's the key to this, Ms. Gotaba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something
something or other. Okay, yeah, we know. We are trying to point out that the rules of passage have been moved. Very poorly moved and concealed. As he put it, very clumsily. Oh, not again. I mean, I do like the music here.
It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall is as if they were put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. That frame was originally over here. That shape and size are a perfect match. Ah, you are right. Why did frame move? Hardly the most observant of crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganov? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability.
Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. We don't have time to worry about his feelings.
So Mikotaba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall?
Huh. Well, would you look at that?
That looks like a bullet hole. What? Who's been shooting walls? I see the projectile has been removed. Clearly the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff. I have the distinct impression that you are attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect a stranger? Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you are lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep us this pretense, as clearly shown by... I really don't know how to approach this one, Shomes. My name is Mikotaba, please simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle, and I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I'd put a wager on it. So I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides, well, I can certainly do that.
Okay, so what are you... Where... Oh, something here... Wad of banknotes. Well, there you go. There's your answer. Oh, dear God.
It's almost too obvious for words. Quite. The universal language of the world. Money. And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jikoku, yes? Ah! So, I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin, and the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But... I believe you know, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jikoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. Is he in the trunk? He's looking at the trunk. He's in the trunk. He's in the trunk. Oh, my dear lord. As always, Mikotaba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally. I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You've found the chink in this burly fellow's armor. We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible. You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. It's not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. Well, he's looking at the trunk. But I don't... It seems too obvious. Like, he's right. It seems too obvious for him to be in the trunk. Also, it seems a bit cramped. You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? Yeah. The truth is, Seishiro Jikoku wasn't able to escape from the ship in time, and is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk. If he still has the breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open this trunk as quickly as possible. But how can... His arm! I knew it! I knew there was something odd. There was something odd about the way that there was... I knew it. There was something odd about the way that the 3 was written. That's very clever, game. Very clever. I was thinking, like, how can we... Was there something in the room that we missed? And then I remembered that on his arm. Because I was thinking of pointing it out. I was thinking of pointing out, hey, the letter on his tattoo of Sholmes seems very oddly tilted in one way for it to actually be, representative of his name. But then I thought, oh wait, what if it's not a letter? It's actually, in fact, it's supposed to be the number that if you flip it upside down, there's your number. There's the answer. The combination lock is on his arm. It's on his arm. Yeah, we do. It's on his arm. Check his arm. Check his arm. It's right there. The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jikoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. And as I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff.
There it is right there. Okay. I can't hide the thing. It's just go upside down. Okay. So, obviously... the last, it's 4, okay, so the last ones are 1, 0, 4, 5, 3 before that, because that's the butchered one. I can't read the I can't read, okay, I think it's a 5, and maybe a 2, okay, 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5, okay, that's, oh god, okay, that's blood rushing to the head, oh dear lord, okay. Okay, that's what it is, 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5, 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5.
Don't move a muscle, my good seaman. Now, Mikotaba, would you do the honors and open the trunk? How on earth do you expect we... It's a 7-digit number, remember. Quickly now, we have little time.
Do I actually have to put it in, like, Zero Escape style? Oh, we do! Full-on Zero Escape style. That's pretty cool. Okay, so it's 5, 2, wrong direction. Okay, hold on. 2, 3, and it's 1, 0, 4, 5. 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5, and let's hope that I was able to read correctly. Is he in there? That did it. It's open. Oh, he's in there! Well, zippity-doo-dah!
Well, you found me now, says Shiro. I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it. No, quite. I just wish it was some other way. Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read stories of many of your exploits.
You know what I gotta say? We've been giving Sholmes a hard time throughout this game because he's displayed nothing but incompetence. But when the chips are down, when it all comes down to him, and when time's of the essence, and when he really needs to shine, he can shine bright like a diamond. That was impressive, because usually he wastes time with a bunch of random waffly bullshit, like, there was an anti-gravity machine, or some random shit like that. But no, not this time. He cut straight to the point and wasted no time waffling about. I'm impressed, Sholmes. Very impressive. I mean, not my favorite dance of deduction by any stretch of the imagination. That's probably going to be the one where he got punched into the ceiling. But still, pretty powerful moment, I gotta say. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jikogu, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil is in the details, Mikotaba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion, who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour. I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Saishiro, are you going to explain all of this? You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here in this very ship. By the Reaper of the Bailey? Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium and was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it? I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you. It's somewhat surprising, I must say. What is? Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available. So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket, and here I am. I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident at the cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else in taking this cabin and seeing the evidence. Is that it? Eugen, I have nothing to say to you. Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once. You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Saishiro. Take it. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be. You came prepared then, Eugen. Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Sholmes? Inside Mr. Jikoku's trunk. I found this rather fascinating trinket. What the hell is that? Wait, is that... The watch, the pocket watch! That is... that's the Ace Attorney I know and love. Small, insignificantly, infinitesimally small details that I can't check because the stupid controller. Well, if I was playing with anybody else, I could check it. If I was playing with literally anybody else, I could check the damn core record, but I can't check the core record right now. Okay. So, here's the deal. All right, Sparky, here's the deal. When we found that pocket watch, it was just a line at the top. I know that for sure. I can't prove it because the game won't let me check the court record, but I'm almost 100% positive that when we had that pocket watch, the face was shattered and there was a little line at the top, but there was nothing you could actually, like, the rounded piece that you would ordinarily find that you could twist the clock to set the time wasn't there. It had fallen off. And now we have in our possession a small component that looks very similar to what might go on that clock. Meaning that there was a piece of something that belonged to Gregson with Judge Jikogu in his cabin, and he didn't know about it. He was completely unaware of a piece of evidence that might just inextricably link him to the murder of Gregson. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant. Are we headed back to Britain now? November 3rd, 12:10 p.m. Okay, yeah, we're back in the courtroom. So are we back in trial mode now, or is this still the investigation? Because there wasn't a save screen between investigation and trial last time, so I'm gonna go until I either hit a save screen or we hit testimony, whatever comes first to signify that we're changing to a trial mode now. Kazuma Asogi, I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie, but still there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying.
During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jikogu's whereabouts could not be ascertained. We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. Nope. No. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict.
No! The trial cannot end now!
You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword.
And you should know never to presume when the battle is won.
The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony. You haven't heard Judge Jikogu's testimony yet, and there can only be one conclusion that the accused is guilty.
All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court has yet to hear a single word of testimony.
In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel.
Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow.
Who on earth is this crucial witness?
Saishiro Jikogu, the very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper!
Judge Jikogu? You found him?
Well, we didn't find him.
Airlock Sholmes found him, and nobody else. But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jikogu was already dead. Yeah, well, we know how reliable that's been. How in the name of God did you find the man?
He was located in France during the recess, at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Airlock Sholmes' famous deductions.
Airlock Sholmes?
Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jikogu. Okay, so is it in the court record now? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, so it's in here. And does it not look like that? Does it not look exactly like a thing that you would use to wind up a clock? I swear to that I've seen its exact shape on Pocket Watch before. I've seen that exact shape before. I swear it's what it is. Also, let's read this now, shall we? Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are required to assemble on the main deck at 10 p.m. in order to review evacuation procedures. Drill will take 20 minutes. Crew to resume duty as soon as drill's over. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what it is. It's gotta be what it is. Because along with Prosecutor Ryunosuke, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Saishiro Jikogu is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard this SS Grouse on the 31st of October.
Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to adjudication at this point. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jikogu's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered. In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side?
No, my lord.
No objections, my lord.
We live to fight another day, by the skin of our teeth. So is that it then? Is that our save screen breaking point? Yup, okay. Holy hell! Okay, so there was a save screen there, but I'm gonna keep the episode going a little while longer, because that was pretty short. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom, but outside the Bailey where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. Where apparently we have a... Well, I was gonna say Thanksgiving, but we're in London, so that's not happening. A very extravagant meal is taking place. November 3rd, 8:07 p.m., Sholmes' suite.
We have returned, my dear fellows.
Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help.
Think nothing of it. I believe you had an even more wearing day than Mikotaba and I, no?
You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier.
So, this prosecutor, Ryunosuke, had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say?
Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible to think that he even entertained the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin.
Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse.
When all this started almost a year ago now. More like 2 months ago. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie.
Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France.
Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes, so
What news of Judge Jikogu?
We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Nikotaba. I don't know. I'll be fine. Yes, I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put it upon you for the matter only yesterday. You put it upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well.
Oh, you had a reply already?
What was so urgent though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present.
Well, that's good news. Because supper is ready, everyone.
Ah, and what a feast it is. If I were none the wiser, I think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kipper, stew, steak and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding.
Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up.
I'm gonna bank on it definitely being a long day. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well.
Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there.
Why ever not?
Yes, and that place is for Susie's dad.
Oh, you're gonna give him reserve seating? Really?
For me.
That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey.
I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you. Undeservedly kind of you.
It's a shame, really.
What do you mean?
Well, for a brief moment I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh!
Yeah, that's not, you were never gonna convince me that that was the case. Iris, do you mean?
Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened into the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left.
What?
Gotta love that flailing around animation. Yeah, you were never gonna convince me that Iris and Susato were half-sisters. That was never gonna happen. The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotaba were Iris' father. So, I gathered the first one, and I gathered the second one. Like, neither of those surprised me. We knew the first one from the moment that we found out when the twist was revealed. And we knew the second one, or at least I knew the second one, because was no way that we're gonna, there's no way, Iris' secret, they already tried this trick with Apollo and Trucy, and I don't think they'd dare to try that again. So, I had a feeling they weren't gonna pull that card out of their pockets.
Yes, about that, Iris. You know,
I know. You can't tell me at the moment.
Oh, Iris.
The pheasant is by way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping.
Oh, no, that's quite alright. Then why don't I get any apologetic pheasant?
So just who is Iris' father? I suppose it's not something we'll be finding out today.
I'm sure we'll find out in the next few episodes, though. So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious.
Eat as much as you like. There are always, seconds.
This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial, about that telegram from Japan and about Kazuma. I can't let this opportunity slip away. Yeah, we got some questions that we need answered. Sholmes, he's always in some kind of precarious position. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Oh great, he's feeling the big sad again.
Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotaba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes.
Huh.
Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy.
Even though I've played the role—
Yeah, I was about to say, like, wait a minute. Airlock Sholmes has literally been your father figure for your entire life, essentially, and now all of a sudden you're gonna put the asshole that abandoned Susato for the first however many years of her life up on a pedestal? Really? Really? Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you?
Certainly, my dear fellow.
You bounced back quick.
No doubt. You're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game.
I can probably contain my curiosity on that one.
You didn't look at me in that fashion.
In what fashion?
It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss.
That's a pun. Alright. The telegram from Japan. So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then?
This? I thank my lucky stars that arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. Kazuma Asogi, Assassin, Tobias Gregson, John H. Wilson.
What? Those full names? We've come across an exact same list before. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue, a plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states, and exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked. We deciphered a fragment of a message. Kazuma Asogi, Assassin, Tobias Gregson, and John H. Wilson, but we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So, why are the names coming up again now? Well, with hindsight being 2020, and we now know what Assassin's name, or who, the identity of Giselle Brett, if you put those, you stack those up against each other, Assassin's name is on top of John H. Wilson, with the former having killed the latter, and Kazuma's name is on top of Tobias Gregson's. So, interesting. So why are the names coming up again now? Yes! Where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes?
I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Chikogu's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from British dated 1 year ago. List of full names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. Why, you used my name? I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature.
You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you? And in my name? I wonder what guise he opted for this time.
My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand?
Anyway. I wonder if we're actually going to get answers on what's going on with Hosonaga. Because it seems like they made a pretty deliberate deal about him having a really obsessive coughing fit. It'd be kind of weird if they, like, didn't explain it at all. I don't know, like, it could just be a little character core for him to be coughing, but I don't know. Maybe it's just that the past year of my life has trained me to be wary of anyone who's in a massive coughing fit, but it seems like a weird detail to shine so much light on and then not bring up again for the rest of the game. But, like, he's not even here, so it'd be a weird... I don't know how they worked it into the final trial, but... By the way, is the next episode going to be the final episode? Or do we still have two, possibly 3 more trials to go? I don't know. Well, we're just going to play and find out. Anyway, the list of names was found in Soshiro's office, as Shim was predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Chikogu. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies.
I did formulate a hypothesis about that, but without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it.
Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Yeah, he's in rare form today. Let me read that in closer detail, see if it's... Okay, yeah, so it's nothing, it's just that, yes. So, I don't know, man. Assassin's name being right on top of John H. Wilson, with Kazuma's name being on top of Gregson in a similar situation. I find it hard to, like, I'm not insinuating that Kazuma actually killed Gregson, but I think there might be a connection there in terms of what was supposed to happen. Anyway, let's open up another can of worms. Why not? That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Borea, it was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. I don't know, I wouldn't say it was all for nothing. Like, this wasn't a, other franchise situation where they establish stakes, they do a monumental thing, and then, such as killing off a character and then bringing them back in the next game or whatever they may choose to do in that regard. Because they're, like, that's the case in which Ryunosuke bonded with Susato. We learned about Airlock Sholmes and his mannerisms. We kind of formed we started to bond with him in the Dances of Deduction. We were introduced to the idea of the guy named Bolshevik, I'm also curious if they're going to do anything about that, because he's on my list of things to wrap up. He was on the jury in the final case of the game, and they made a very deliberate point to mention him, so but he's not here, so is he going to show up again? I don't know. I have no idea what to expect. Anything can happen in the final set of trials for all I know. But the point being, and then of course it's what pushed Ryunosuke to become a defense lawyer. In fact, I wonder if that's actually going to be what Airlock Sholmes was trying to do. Like, what was the intent to fake his death to push Ryunosuke into filling the lawyer role so that they could end up side by side? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. We'll find out soon enough. But my point being, there are things that happened in that case that weren't undone by bringing Kazuma back. So it's not like a certain other game franchise that does that and just undoes all the stakes because they don't care or they're incompetent. I don't really care either way. That's behind me now until the 7th rolls around, but we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. For now, we're playing good games, so let's keep going.
I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost.
What?
I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan.
His remains, you mean?
Precisely, Mrs. Sato. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead.
Oh my! You mean?
The arrangement between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least.
Wait, did you mean to say that it was all in aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you...
Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England?
The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead.
My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely.
But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer.
The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer.
So, you manipulated me?
I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend.
I don't believe it.
But if it was all contrived...
I mean, well, okay, contrived is what another franchise does, and 2 cases in the Chronicles so far. But what Airlock Sholmes did was very deliberate. This is a bit of a difference.
What happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What details became of her?
Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought.
I seem to remember Miss Sutherland had some rather strong words for her.
Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure.
I wonder if she made it to America then.
I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain?
The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see.
Oh!
An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand.
An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. Yeah, time to start. How do we get him for, oh, wait, is he, hold on, wait. So, I'm guessing, I mean, it wasn't a full year ago, but it's gotta have something to do with this, right? Because this was, we emailed this back, we got this back in spring, so not a full year ago, but closing in on it. There's no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Kogu's office that should be searched, so you obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found. But we only learned of those full names just over 6 months ago now, and only because they appeared as part of the top secret government communications that were leaked.
That's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those full names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that. Approximately this time last year, in fact, or when you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets, because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments.
You're perpetually doing what? How?
Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Airlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it.
Oh my, Mr. Sholmes, what a fabulous line!
Right, us two in their own horn there. Now, 1 month after that list of full names was wired to the recipient Jikoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was at the beginning of all these tragic events that were to follow.
Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected.
The 4 names. I mean, I can take a shot in the dark. I'm guessing I'm not that far off.
As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names, because, you see, there was someone else on the list who I believed to be recently deceased.
What? Who?
Aishin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script, in actual fact, Miss Assassin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes.
Oh, I see.
But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed, and accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list.
Ah, Kazuma Asogi and Tobias Gregson.
Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself, but I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain.
Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead.
Exactly.
So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes?
Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I've recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course.
So, Dr. Wilson is dead then. I didn't know.
Oh, Iris.
I knew he wasn't my daddy, but still. It's very sad. I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you.
Well, Mikotaba almost let it slip because he's an idiot. But, you know, we at least tried to make up for his abysmal failures. But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis.
A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo?
Ah, yes. You mean about Miss Assassin, I presume?
Oh, of course!
Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett.
I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel.
Ah!
And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I'd formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy.
What? Topsy? Topsy hypothesis. Okay. What do you mean when you say your hypothesis will turn topsy, Mr. Sholmes?
I believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Assassin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Indeed, and it would seem was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson, the visiting student status being merely a front.
Ah! Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions.
So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by assassin is because he was the target of an assassination.
And formed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective.
What do you mean?
Well, does it not strike you? There was another among the 4, who subsequently became a visiting student.
Wait, you mean...
But of course, a name you know only too well.
You mean Kazuma? Oh! He did say in court earlier today.
Yes, on October 31st, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark.
That's the thing, man. They may actually have the guts. Like, we can't... Right now, it's just a theory. And we don't technically have the evidence to prove it definitively. But at this point, anything's possible. We're not ruling anything out. It is a hypothesis that has a logical through line. And they may actually have the guts to pull the trigger on it, which is terrifying. But I'm gonna reserve judgment until we can find more definitive evidence before I so blazingly declare that Kazuma is actually... Nope. No, I'm not gonna say that. Not saying it yet. We're gonna hold on until we get more definitive proof. Surely not!
In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange.
An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have got involved in something like that?
Let's assume that we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange.
So, to begin with, the British assassin dispatches a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then, the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange.
But what on earth is the point?
Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction.
Oh, yes.
Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries, so the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels.
The highest levels?
These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated, yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That disassociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot.
But wait a minute, Sholmes.
If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Saishiro Jikoku at all. It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson.
What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? So Jikoku wasn't actually the mock?
Yes, that's exactly what it would mean.
I mean, the way it's looking like Judge Jikoku is actually, like, orchestrating the whole damn thing. At least on the Japanese side of it. Like, so, the way this is shaping up right now is it seems like there's one person on the Britain side of it, probably Strongheart, and one person on the Japan side of it, probably Judge Jikoku, who's orchestrating this, like, masterclass of assassins, which is mind-blowing to think about, because that is, like, I can't even, because on the one hand, there's the part where it's like, you have the obvious villain, who's just so obviously evil, and then the other side of it, which is just like, just friendly tutorial judge, is suddenly interwoven with the core mystery across both games. So there's that, there's the fact that Kazuma Asogi might be one of the assassins they dispatched. I can't, but why is there the motive? There's... Oh my, okay. We just gotta keep pressing on.
I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe.
Mr. Sholmes.
I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position, obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow.
Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition, that he'd be transferring to the Paris Police and taking Gina with him.
But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems, and sadly, it turned out to be his very last.
This is too much to take in. But good God, is it ingenious. Like, that is an ingenious way to tie it together. That is an ingenious way that this is all tied together. With the diplomatic immunity thing, explaining why they had to swap to cross overseas, and the way the assassin ties in with Jikoku, and Jikoku ties in with Little Strongheart, ties into Kazuma, and Gregson. It's not confirmed, but if that's the route we're going with those two at the top, that is ingenious. I can't wait to keep going.
Alright everyone, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time.
Ah, quite right, Iris. Must conclude our preparations for tomorrow.
What preparations?
Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember.
It is a little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy.
Oh, wow. I'm so sorry you ever thought that.
Because then Susie would have been my big sister.
Aww. Okay, that's kind of adorable. Although, like, it's adorable that she says that, and it's, like, heartwarming that she says that, but what I find more entertaining about the idea is that what she wanted out of her being her daddy would be, there's nothing to do with him as a person, but entirely to do with Susato, because of course it would, because he's just so terrible. I like the idea that they wanted you to feel happy that you were playing as Mikotaba, and now, earlier today, it's like, nah, just pain. Just only pain. I'm sorry, Iris. But I mean...
I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without question. So, teach me all the ways you know how to throw into the...
Okay, maybe we don't start with that. Maybe we start with more basic lessons before we jump to that one.
Yes, of course. It would be my pleasure.
No, you didn't have to agree quite so readily. Yeah, maybe we don't.
Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Runo.
Huh? I mean, yes, of course, if you'll have me.
No, don't, Iris. You must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. And yet you still gave the special seat to Miko Tama for some stupid reason.
Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. You know, Shomes is really growing on me. I mean, you know, there was always... I think from the moment I met him, I was always like, there's our Shomes, because his name is just so ridiculous. But, you know, once we moved past the initial surprise of meeting him, I started to kind of be like, oh, you're so stupid and annoying. But the further into the game you get, and the more you see his true colors start to emerge, and the more layers of him you peel back, Shomes is really growing on me. Like, I think the epitome of Shomes is that final dance of deduction that we did earlier, because that was him being raw. That was him, because like, what you do when you don't have time to think is more true to who you are. But when you have time to slow down and think, and like you have more time to process information, you can kind of trick yourself into thinking something you may not. So, for instance, if you see someone in trouble and your instinct is to help, that's more true to who you are. Whereas if someone approaches you saying, "Hey, we need your help with this thing tomorrow. Are you in?" You might be like, "Oh, well," you might come up with a reason to talk yourself out of it because you have more time to think, and it's not an instinctive reaction you have to make. It's kind of the same thing here, whereas when we're in a standard dance of deduction with Shomes, he has more time to think, and he has more time to mess around because there's not a pressing time limit. So that's why he's able to mess around with Ryunosuke and kind of urge the truth out of him, which actually makes a lot more sense when you combine it with the fact that he was pushing Ryunosuke to become the lawyer in the first place, so that those two things link together very nicely. I'm just smiling because the writing is so goddamn good. So, there's that, and it's like, that's why he's a bit more flippant with it, and he's just like,
an anti-gravity machine, but of course, my dear Wilson.
But when the chips are down, when it's a race against the clock and it all comes down to him, he knows how to fasten up and be like, alright, this is what I gotta do, I gotta solve the mystery, we're doing it instantly, I got it. Mystery solved, case cracked, we're done, we can go home. And he was on it, he was like lightning fast, snapping between all the different deductions, and he was spot on every time. That is the epitome of Airlock Shomes. I misjudged him initially. He's not as airhead as I thought he was. He just puts on a show for the world with his great, logically reasoning, spectacular dance of deduction. But when it comes down to it, he'll never let you down. I love this, like, family that we have going on here with Ryunosuke, Susato, Iris, and Airlock Shomes. Just one big, like, crime-solving family. It's really adorable to watch. God, this game, I don't want it to end. Because admittedly, I was really worried initially that they were going to drop the ball hardcore with Gregson and Assassin being the mastermind. Like, really? 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 But now that we're seeing more of what's actually going on here, and Judge Jikogu and Lord Strongheart being the higher-ups, and it's like, okay, now I see what you're doing. Now I see what you're doing. And now I see how this is going to be awesome. And so, now that my fears have been alleviated, and I'm confident they're going to resolve everything, I don't want it to end. Like, I feel like this is my last time to really say this before shit hits the fan and the trial starts like up again. I don't want this to end. This has just been, for as cringe as it might sound to say, this has just been a magical experience. This has been so much fun. Like, I know I shouldn't be surprised by it, because there's only been one Ace Attorney game, I'll just kind of crossover, where it hasn't been just non-stop awesomeness, and I've loved every minute of it. But I guess it's just because it's been so long since I've played a good mystery-solving game, to be blunt about it. It's been so long that I forgot how awesome things can be when you have writers that care and writers that know what they're doing. I love these characters, I love these stories. It's just, I don't want it to end. Because it's also, because this is the last game. There's nothing else beyond this. This is the end. This is the final Ace Attorney game that's out. So I guess we just gotta make the best of it. So let's keep pressing on until the curtain falls.
Right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sister.
Aw, what is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Yeah, that's also, so now that we're out of sappy mode for a minute, what the hell are you preparing for? Like, what, is there gonna be some grandiose song and dance that I'm not aware of? Some like, Broadway play that you're prepping for?
You'll just have to wait and see.
I'm guessing it's gonna be some, like, victorious celebration for after we've won the trial.
Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance.
I'll do my very best, of course. So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths whilst posing new conundrums. That list of full names on the telegram in Judge Jikogu's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I'd been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden, but at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Get that? Okay, if we chop off the screen about a quarter of the way there, and we just look at the right side, what an awesome crime-solving family we have. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Aww. God damn this game. So I'm glad I kept going after that. It's now the finale. God damn it. Okay, we're fine. If I'm gonna start watering at the eyes, I gotta save it for this finale. Okay. So, I don't want to stand, but you know, still got one possible. I don't know how many more trials we have to go, but we're in the end game now. This is it. The final showdown is upon us, and I'm ready. I'm ready to object until we find the truth. So thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for next time, and I hope to catch you all tomorrow for the start of the final set of trials in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Goodbye!